You got challenges that you're going to run across.
So my little cousin, he freaking out because this his first caper that he done been on.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And again, like I'm always been a very protective person over everybody that I've been around. You know what I mean? So it's like, damn, all I could think about something happened to him, my auntie, losing her baby son, all this type of stuff. So it was a number of cars, but I made sure that my little cousin, because this was his first caper, that it was just me and him. You know what I'm saying? And my other homeboys, they was in two other vehicles. You know what I'm saying? So, long story short, like, bullets start, flying at the truck, coming through the truck, hitting the dashboard, etc. And I was sitting in the truck, and I had I had a 223 rifle, and I still had another clip of ammunition in there, and I'm like, damn, man, we probably finna die, you know what I'm saying, or get hit up or whatever. But my life started flashing before my eyes like a movie, you know what I'm saying? Not from a place of fear, but just like, it was like everything slowed down for a minute, and I literally seen, my childhood, my formative years, all the way up to where I was now, and it was like, God was telling me, like, listen, if you don't do something different, you're going to end up dead, just like the rest of, your folks who you cared about, who no longer here, or you're going to end up in prison. You know what I'm saying? So I put the last clip of ammunition in a rifle, and I wedged myself between the door, and I just started shooting back down the street where, the gunfire was coming from. And soon as the last bullet came out of the came out of the gun, the truck crunk right on up. You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
And I went back to my neighborhood and got myself together, and by that time, like, it had already hit the news and different things of that nature, as far as the incident. And then I went over to my homeboy house, who was from Miami, but he was also like a big brother to me as well. And he came from that life in Miami. But he was in Augusta playing, but I met him in school actually, because he came to play basketball, and he was always, he bonded with me, and he was like, bro, he was always trying to put me on the right path, telling me the right thing to do, and different things of that nature. And I end up going, staying with him, his girlfriend, they married now, his wife now. I end up staying with them for like the next 4-5 days, which gave me a lot of time to think, or whatever the case might be. But, being young, after them 4 or 5 days, it still didn't, it still ain't changed my mind, because again, I didn't really know who I was as an individual outside of that. I didn't have an identity outside of that. You know what I'm saying? So I didn't know what I was going to do or what the next move was, or none of that.
Now, during that time, you were still in school. Were you, a jock? You were playing ball and doing the criminal activity at the same time, or had you stopped?
Yeah, no, it ain't never stopped.
Okay.
That was just, I mean, if it wasn't for sports, I would have never went to college in the first place. So yeah, and when I first went off to school, I was actually playing basketball and golf. Golf was like my place of peace. That was my sanctuary, so I kind of got good at that sport on accident, and end up going off and playing golf in school, etc. But yeah, as long as I was in Augusta, I the streets was just what it was. So I would literally, how my neighborhood is situated and set up, like I would literally be going to class and then walking back to the neighborhood, and I'm out there selling crack. I remember one time we the narcs had hit the house, or whatever the case might be, and I'm sitting up in there studying for one of my finals for biological psychology. And I can remember that, one of the narcs having this confused look on his face as to, like, what's really going on in here? You know what I mean? What type of person are you? You know what I mean? So, and honestly, like, I was always very studious. Like, I was a, primarily straight A student, and I was a good student, but you know, I marched to the beat of my own drum. So I was kind of one of them students who the teachers ain't really know what to do with, because I was always very intelligent and top of my class academically as well. But at the same time, like, I just ain't play no games.
All right. So, Chris, did your coach pick this up, or did they say, okay, you know, this dude here's a jock, he's playing ball, making A students, and he's still, you know, playing that street game? Did they say anything to you, or they didn't, you know, your coach didn't even, you know what you were doing? Make sure that you like and subscribe and hit the all button and all that kind of stuff, because we're going to have a lot of good interviews on this podcast.